So I'm here doing a maintenance on this 1960 and a carburetor, but that'll be a separate video. 1968 Pontiac GTSOs. It's the GTSOs. That doesn't make sense to me either. But you know, I always see on the interwebs people getting into biblical fights over what oil you should run, even what filter. Well, I'm here to debunk those. Up until I believe it was 1990, 1993, somewhere in there, we had what's called flat tappet valve systems. And basically it's just on your hydraulic lifter, it's just a flat piece where the camshaft strikes it. If you don't have zinc, modern oil doesn't, because with the advent of the catalytic converter, they had to get rid of zinc. We lost zinc in our oils, which is fine on a modern day engine, or if you've swapped to a roller valve system. But if you're still running the flat tappet, you have to have zinc. This engine called for 10W30. You could put that with the zinc additive and be just fine. You could put 530 if you live in a really cold climate. As long as it has zinc, you're good. Personally, on these older engines, what I like to use is this Shell Rotella T4 heavy duty diesel oil 1540. Main reason because it has a high viscosity rating, but mainly because it still has zinc. Because diesel engines, they don't have, well, mainly tractor trailers, no catalytic converters. They do have DEF, but that's different. And I also like this Rizlone Hyperlube, because as you can see, it's really gooey. And what it does, the 75 to 80% of the engine wear occurs in the first 5 seconds of startup when the oil pump is trying to pump the oil to the top of the engine. And with this, now it won't work really if you let it sit for weeks at a time, but a couple of days, this will actually leave a coating on your valve train and on the cylinder walls, so you're not having a dry start. You have a coating of this Hyperlube oil supplement, and whenever your oil gets hot, this prevents thermal breakdown. So for 12 bucks, it's really worth putting that in there. I would recommend on it. So then, so far as filter goes, people are like, well, you got to find the factory filter. You don't, okay? You don't. I go with the STP extended life. I mean, don't get the cheapest filter, I'll give you that. But you ain't got to go out and buy the $48 K&N filter. Just get this one, it was 10 bucks. Another thing you have to do is lubricate the oil filter. The reason for, the O-ring. The reason for this is, as you're spinning it on, make sure the old gasket came off. But as you're spinning it on, this will allow the oil filter to spin up against the block freely, and it won't get pinched. And then, see, the oil filter O-ring is just sitting on there. It's just sitting there. So you got to make sure it's lubricated so it'll spin on easily. Something you got to bear in mind here, fellers. The Shell Rotella, or even the Chevron, any diesel oil comes in a 4-quart rather than a 5-quart. This is 1 gallon, 4 quarts. So you got to bear that in mind. I bought 2 of these plus 1 Hyperlube. Another thing you got to do too, don't put just straight Hyperlube into the engine. Whether you put the oil in first, then that first, then the oil, because there's a chance that the oil pump is going to start sucking just Hyperlube, and it will pump it through, but it's going to really put a strain on it, and you're going to wind up pumping dry up top for a few seconds. So I always put about 1 quart down with this, pour the Hyperlube in here, give it the cocktail hour, and then pour it the rest of the way in. And I speak from experience, guys, of pouring in just straight Hyperlube, and about 30 seconds after you start it, it'll pump straight Hyperlube, and then you get the tippity up top. It's not good for anything. And then cap this off and discard it. And you come up here and give it a, and then you just pour her straight in. Hyperlube and 1540. Oh yeah, that's good and soupy there. Ooh, going a little too fast. Too much. Bring it back. And this is just liquid gold for these old engines. It leaves a coating, but I'll see if I can demonstrate it with my fingers here. Look. See how it strings out there? That's leaving that coating all in your engine. That's what you want. We'll just start it up and check the oil. It says that it needs 6 quarts. We got 5.5 in it. We'll just check the last little bit here. Oh, we actually might be on point. But anyway, now you know what oil to run in your classic muscle car, or even classic car, truck, anything. Thanks for watching.